He said that Jesus Christ has risen, and he is the open door.
How you doing, everyone? Welcome to this episode of the Cajun Conservative Show, where we talk about life, we talk about liberty, and we talk about the pursuit of happiness. And yes, we show the world that us Cajuns do have intelligence. Hope you're having a good day, good week, wherever you are located. Because remember, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And ladies and gentlemen, with the issues that our country's having, that's some words you need to live by, unfortunately, because what we're about to talk about is we're kind of in a doom and gloom season, if you think about it. And I really feel history is repeating itself, literally. And look, let's, but before that, before we get into that, just hope you're having a good one. Please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button on the platform you're listening on, one or two choices. We're on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Apple, Anchor. We're on all of those platforms. You can also find us on our webpage at thecajunconservativeshow.wordpress.com, and also on Facebook. We have all the links to the podcast and also to the video podcast all over the place. Let's start getting conservatism out there. Share and like the show, especially on your social media. And look, ladies and gentlemen, TikTok is blowing up. I'm almost hitting 500 followers. A lot of people might say 500 followers. Isaac, that's not a lot. Yes, but it's a lot to me, and I'm growing every day. And now the government wants to get rid of it. I understand the concerns, but if not, if TikTok goes away, I need all you TikTok followers that listen to me. Go to Facebook or YouTube. Watch the shorts. We're still going to have them on there. And we're going to have to see what happens. So, all right. As I was saying, ladies and gentlemen, I feel I see history replaying or history repeating itself. Why do I say that, ladies and gentlemen? Because on Friday, the second largest bank failed in our history. That's right. Silicon Valley Bank, SVB, we're going to call it from now on, collapsed Friday in the second largest bank failure in history, and the Treasury, Federal Reserve, and Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, announced Sunday that the government would fully protect all depositors. Silvergate Bank and Signature Bank, Moody downgraded its outlook on the entire banking system the following day, noting deposits runs at two other major banks, according to CNBC. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been watching the news, you've been hearing, and look, there was a bank today. I don't have the bank in front of me, but there's three major banks in the United States. One of them being one of the biggest in the world, collapse here in the United States. Now, as I was thinking when I first heard this, how this happened, what's going on? Well, let's go back and bring you a little bit of history. If you remember when Donald Trump was in office, our inflation rate was at 1.4. The inflation was almost non-existent. And ladies and gentlemen, we had an economy booming until late 2019. What happened late 2019? Well, the economy just went down because of a little thing called coronavirus. That happened late in 2019 and in 2020. And the government, which I think Donald Trump was wrong for doing, just shut down the economy. They shut down businesses. Don't you remember? It was the 2 weeks. Hey, in 2 weeks, we'll be fine. This pandemic will be over. And the pandemic just lasted almost a year. Going into 2020, we had an election. And in the November of 2020, this country elected Joseph Biden as its president. Now, Joseph Biden, to fulfill all his campaign promises, didn't do everything right. He hasn't done everything right since the beginning of his administration, but went ahead and said, listen, we're going to do this rescue plan. Now, Trump did one as well, but it wasn't as massive. But Biden goes in there and he says, look, we want to do a rescue plan, and we wanted to send tons and tons of money into the economy. And it worked, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you remember the economy was booming and people that were not working was getting money. And the economy started to boom. But the problem with printing money is that you start having inflation. And the inflation number went up until June of last year, where it peaked at 9.1%. And yours truly was behind this microphone telling people this is not good for the American economy. This is not good for the American people. People cannot buy goods. They cannot buy groceries. They can't go ahead and spend money on common goods. It was horrible. But you remember you hearing the left? Oh, this is nothing bad. This is showing that we are progressing as a country. We are progressing as a nation. This is showing the economy is going, it's going to a peak. It's going to be good. And I remember coming behind this microphone and telling everyone, how can the economy be good when you have high inflation and the citizens that the American people, the citizens of America can't hardly buy anything? Inflation hit 9.1. Now, today, at the time of this recording, we've had inflation come down a little bit. But why is the inflation coming down? Well, the IRS and the Federal Reserve, not the IRS, the Federal Reserve went ahead and brought up interest rates. And they've been slowly putting them up. And when you go ahead and raise the inflation, the interest rate, it brings down inflation. So it's combating inflation. Problem with that is Silicon Valley Bank and these other major banks bought government bonds. And at the time when they bought them, they were making money. But because of inflation going up and the interest rate going up, those bond values have went down. Now, these banks that are supposed to be too big to fail are collapsing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you might be wondering, Isaac, well, why you said at the beginning you're seeing history replay itself. The 1920s, ladies and gentlemen, in this country, we had something called a Great Depression. Wall Street went down. Banks closed their doors. There was millionaires just throwing their money out the window because their money was not worth anything. And you can go ahead and blame the government at that time. Ladies and gentlemen, you see where I'm going with this? Because of what happened in the 1920s, this country went into a Great Depression. Now, I'm not in the business to scare you. I'm here to inform you. But in cases like this, I'm trying to warn people, hey, you need to get ready. Because look, this is what I see when I hear of big banks folding and collapsing. And then you have the government come in on Sunday saying, hey, we're going to take care of everything. And then you have Joe Biden on Monday saying that, look, this isn't a bailout, but we're going to bail them out. And don't worry, the taxpayers are not going to go ahead and lose anything. I heard a good illustration of that today where, hold on, who's biting the bullet right here? You know, who's going to flip the bill? Because these banks, unfortunately, you know, they ran out of business. They were poor managed. We have all the arguments. But these banks should have just went ahead and said, hey, look, we're going to continue with our bankruptcy. But the government's coming in. No, we're going to help you. You know who it screws over? The American people. Because that is American taxpayer dollars that is bailing out this company. Now, this ain't new to the Democrat organization and even some Republicans. Remember in the car industry back in 2008? When GMC and when Chevy and Ford and all these big car companies were about to fall and the government came in and gave them tax money. Now people wonder, well, why the government's telling these car companies, hey, you have to build EVs instead of gas vehicles. The government kind of invested into that company and now the government rules them. Not 2%, they're still privately owned, but the government has said, look, 2008 or between 2008 and 2012, hey, we helped you. We gave you money to stay open. Now, there's a lot of conspiracy theories about these big banks and everything of that nature. But ladies and gentlemen, banks are closing because of Biden policies, high inflation, the consumer rate. You have high gas prices. You have tons of policies that Biden put into place that is causing this. Now, of course, our president will take the blame. I'm sorry, guys. I know I made y'all choke. I'm sorry. I made y'all choke. I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, the president did not take the blame for this. Do you know who he blamed? And look, every Democrat does this. And if you that are on the left listening say, no, the president takes fault. Really? Well, what about Ohio? They blame Trump because Trump deregulated the railroads. Oh, it was Trump's fault for the border crisis because it was so bad before. Nobody was coming across, but it was so bad before that we had to change all the policies at the border. And now we got 2.5 million people crossing the border. Don't you? Just two examples. Now we have a third because Biden tries to pin bank collapse on Trump. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. As I said on Monday, the president comes out and he's saying that he's not bailing them out, but he's bailing out these banks that have failed because of his failed policies and the high inflation and the high interest rates that are happening now, which, like we said, with the new inflation rate, the new inflation rate came out today, and I think it's sitting at 6.4, and they're predicting that the Federal Reserve won't raise the interest rate too much, maybe a quarter and a half, something of that nature. We have to wait until next week to see this. But going back to Biden making this whole speech how he's going to bail out these banks, and then listen to our fearless leader, the man full of wisdom and understanding. Again, I hope I didn't make you choke. Scott, I hope you ain't listening to this while you're doing weights because you're gonna lose. Anyway, President Joe Biden blamed former President Donald Trump for the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. The missing of Trump rollbacks of some Obama-era policies. Now, this is the president and his quote. During the Obama-Biden administration, we put in place tough requirements on banks like SVB and Signature Bank, including the Dodd-Frank law, which has been he's making this statement, but I'm gonna debunk something right away. That bill was repealed by the same people that put it in place because they saw it wasn't working. So for him to use this example, that this is why the bank fell because it was Donald Trump's fault. Okay, he took it out of the way. Well, he has to blame half of his colleagues that were in the Senate that voted to remove it. Moving on. To make sure that the crisis we saw in 2008 would never happen again, Biden said during his Monday remarks, and this is where Biden goes ahead and blames Trump. Unfortunately, the last administration rolled back some of these requirements, he added. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is not Biden's fault. According to the president, says, hey, look, I didn't do nothing wrong. I just went ahead and I did what I was supposed to as a president. See, it was Donald Trump's fault. And ladies and gentlemen, I get aggravated every time I hear Biden blame Trump for something like this. This man has been president going on for 3 years. And all of a sudden, this is coming up, and I didn't think about that. And of course, I didn't think about it. That means Trump was to blame because Trump did it, and I just didn't think about it. Ladies, it goes back to the same thing with Ohio with the derailment. This man says it was Trump's fault because he deregulated things for the railroad. And when I heard this, I'm like, have you been president for 3 years? And it's the same argument right here. The president says, oh, man, this wasn't really my fault. It was Trump's fault because he deregulated everything. And that lie's starting to get old. And listen to this right here, too, ladies and gentlemen. These banks just did not collapse Friday, and nobody saw it coming. You're not telling me the government saw that these banks were in trouble? And didn't tell us nothing? But it's not Trump. It's not Biden's fault. It's Trump's fault because he deregulated things. And look, of course, President Biden did not take any questions at this event. And he's lucky I wasn't at the event, because I would ask him, hold on, Mr. President, you're blaming the former administration, but haven't you been the president for 3 years? Haven't you been the president for 3 years and you couldn't have changed this? You couldn't have went ahead and fixed it to where these banks couldn't have. And of course, you would have heard the president say, oh, well, if I would have brought up to the Republicans wouldn't have went ahead and passed it. Then raises up to another question. Hold on, Mr. President. Didn't the Democrats control the House, the Senate, and the Congress for 2 years? And you couldn't get this passed? And you see, ladies and gentlemen, this goes to a point that I've been bringing out now for a couple of weeks. When something happens good in the nation, it's Biden. Biden did it right. Biden did it good. And prime example is the gas. Don't you remember Biden and all his staff at the White House saying, we don't control the gas prices in America. We don't. You think the president can just call these oil companies and can go ahead and lower the gas prices? Y'all living in a fantasy world. I'm not quoting verbatim, but that's what they sounded like. But when gas prices started going down, you heard Karine Jean-Pierre and Joe Biden and all the White House staff. But look what the president's doing. President Biden brought gas prices $1.25 down. So why did the president take credit for when he brings the gas prices down, but when it goes up, it's not his fault? And the same thing here. These banks are collapsing. And the last time banks started collapsing in America, that is known throughout this nation, is the Great Depression. And ladies and gentlemen, when I first heard these banks were failing and collapsing, that was the first thought that came in my mind, the 1920s in the Great Depression. And ladies and gentlemen, this is scary. And now you have a president that's living in Wonderland with Alice, making statements. Well, it ain't my fault. It's the last administration's fault. But he's been the president for 2 years. I'm going to quote a famous Joe Biden quote right here. Come on, man. Ridiculous. We'll be right back after this short break. How you doing, everyone? Isaac here. I'm the Cajun Conservative, and I want to thank Brother Lanny Hayes from Hayes' Dump Truck Service for their generous support of the Cajun Conservative and Brothers Just Searching. Hayes' Dump Truck Service serves the Lafayette and surrounding areas. If you have any job that you need done, like cleanup or hauling material to your job site or your home, we haul limestone, we haul sand, we haul topsoil, any type of material you need. If you're in the Lafayette and surrounding areas, please call Brother Lanny Hayes at 337-852-8043. Remember, Hayes' Dump Truck Service, where Jesus is Lord of the company.
With your blood, cleansed and made us whole. Not one hoof, not one soul.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the second segment of the Cajun Conservative Show. So we have banks failing. We have inflation that's it's up and down and going all around. We have interest rates going up. We have a country that is being torn apart. And what is the president of the United States doing about this? Well, he's blaming Trump. We talked about that in the last segment. But he's also banning millions of acres of land and water from future drilling, oil drilling. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We have banks. We have banks failing and collapsing, and we have the United States economy in an uproar. And it's, oh my goodness, Mr. President, what is your focus? I'm gonna go ahead and block millions of acres of land and water from drilling to save the planet. Because my goodness, how can I run a socialistic country if I don't have one to save? Isaac, you're joking. Well, it came from Fox News. Biden indefinitely blocks millions of acres of land, water from future oil drilling. The Biden administration announced Sunday evening that it is indefinitely blocking 16 million acres of federal land and water in Alaska from future fossil fuel drilling. With these actions, President Biden continues to deliver the most aggressive climate agenda in American history, the DOI said in a statement. He has made the United States a magnet for clean energy, manufacturing, and jobs. He secured record investments in climate, resilience, and environmental justice. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. We have crisis after crisis after crisis in this country, but the president's main focus is to go ahead and stop oil drilling. Now, this is him talking out of his two sides of his mouth, because at the same time, some in his own party. See, Biden's trying to play both fields. I'm against fracking. I'm against oil, but I like oil projects. Why do I say that? Well, just so happened, massive oil project spikes civil war within Biden administration, lawmakers say. The approval proceeds for a massive Alaskan oil drilling project, sparked intense disagreement with the Biden administration that collided with a tactful media leak late last week, according to two senators who advocated for the project. President Joe Biden and senior White House advisors ultimately made the call to greenlight the Willow Project, a drilling project that it develops ConocoPhillips, forecasted to produce up to 614 million barrels of crude oil over its 30 years lifespan, but faced off opponents from offices elsewhere in the administration. Alaska Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski and Dave Sullivan told reporters during a call Monday. So, ladies and gentlemen, he's playing the field. He's shutting down 614 acres. But at the same time, he's producing oil, or 614 million barrels. But 16 million acres can produce oil in Alaska. And ladies and gentlemen, this is, and all for the planet, of course. Now, this 614 million barrels of crude oil over 30 years lifespan, that's a drop in the bucket for oil. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your president. This is the president of the United States, worried more about fossil fuels and worrying more about the greenhouse emissions and how we're going to die in 30 years if we don't go ahead and get this fixed. But ladies and gentlemen, we have banks collapsing. We have a border that is going out of whack. Now, this isn't the only thing the president's worried about. I need to give him justice. This isn't the only thing Biden is worried about. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. He's also worried about gun violence as he tries to take away our Second Amendment rights. Why do I say this? Because this was done early this morning. Biden to sign executive orders to require background checks on more gun sales. President Joe Biden is expected to announce an executive order on Thursday that would expand background checks to more firearm sales by expanding the solitary confinement of a firearm dealer, White House says. Biden is set to sign the order during a trip to California, of all places, where he will meet with families and communities affected by the mass shooting that killed 11 and injured 9 others in January. The White House said that the executive orders will bring the U.S. as close to universal background checks as possible without additional legislation. What they're saying, ladies and gentlemen, is that they're going around the Constitution to take away your rights. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have discussed executive orders in the past, and I haven't done one in a while, but when executive orders were, I haven't done it in a while, so let me go ahead and explain it. When executive orders were put into place, it wasn't to create laws. See, a lot of people have that thinking that an executive order is something that the president does because he's the executive branch. executive orders were meant to be like, hey, we need more paper clips, sign the executive order. Oh, you want to name that park? Well, Congress has a lot more stuff to do, so let's sign the executive order and let's name that park. That was the original intention of an executive order. Small, minor details, but stuff like this. The president is signing gun laws. Basically, hey, I want to enforce more background checks, so I'm going to stroke my pen and I'm going to go ahead and make my own laws. Now, this could get overturned by a federal judge. See, that's another concept that Americans don't understand about executive orders. They don't understand that a president's executive order can get shut down by a federal judge. Now, if I was a gun manufacturer or a gun dealer, I would look into suing the Biden administration and getting this executive order out the way. Why? Because no person in Congress or no person of government is supposed to make laws that infringe upon the rights of the American citizens. Now, this goes back to my last episode where I talked about the First Amendment, where you have government officials using tactics to take away the American citizens' rights. And ladies and gentlemen, this is what Biden's doing. And going back to what I said previously about the banks, President Biden, you have tons of stuff more to worry about. But now he's more worried about pushing a progressive agenda than helping our country. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in a bad state. I've been believing this for a while, and it's only because of the numbers, because 2 negative GDP growths means we're in a recession. I have been saying this for the last year. No, we're not in no recession. But following history, in the 1920s, when the Great Depression happened, banks collapsed, Wall Street collapsed. People were throwing their money out the window because it wasn't worth nothing. And then you have the president wanting to print up more and more money, because that's the point I did not bring out in the last segment. These banks that are getting bailed out, when he made the announcement on Monday saying that, hey, I'm going to go ahead and take care of these banks and the federal government's going to get involved. We have a debt ceiling crisis. They're so worried about defaulting on our debt, but they're going to go to the Internal Revenue, the Federal Reserve, and say, hey, print up trillions and trillions of dollars to bail out these banks. Because they're too big to fail. We have crisis after crisis after crisis. And you know what the president is worried about? Look, the thing that can make us money. Think about that too. The thing that can make us money. Drilling in Alaska. We just don't have to use that oil. We can send that over to other countries. Germany. Because remember, hey, the Nord Stream pipeline somehow exploded. Germany could use oil. Hey, let's go drill in that 60 million acreage and sell the oil to Germany. Hey, you want to stop Russia? You can sell it to Germany, and guess what? Russia can't sell their oil to Germany. Hey, Russia don't have no money. See, simple thinking. No, we're going to shut that down. We're going to print more money. We're going to go ahead and add more inflation and hurt the American people on top of that. And we're going to go ahead and take away their Second Amendment rights. I'm going to sign a bill where we're going to expand background checks. And we just put it barely to where we're infringing on the Second Amendment rights, where Congress don't have to pass no bills. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the president of the United States. That's what he's thinking right now. He's more worried about fossil fuel. He's more worried about climate change, which is a big fat hoax. And more worried about gun violence and taking away guns from American citizens, what has been proven time and time again on this show, that the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. But does he pay attention? No, he's not worried about crisis in America. He's not worried about the border crisis. He's not worried about the banking crisis. He's not worried about inflation. He's worried about taking away your guns. And he's worried about climate change. And look, on this note as well, with this climate change bull nonsense, you know who this is benefiting? It's not benefiting the American people. It's benefiting our enemies because they're not going to EVs. You really think the Taliban or Iran is we got to go to electric vehicles? No, they're staying with gas because they know. Ladies and gentlemen, they know that's how you fuel that's how you fuel your military. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, there's something else. Let me see. I think I saved it. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I'm trying to find it. Oh, yes, that's another thing. Okay, yeah, I just found it. Also, ladies and gentlemen, the Biden administration is worried about something else. I should call this segment Biden Worries. Because, ladies and gentlemen, also to save the environment. Listen to this. Biden's washing machine rule would make Americans dirtier and stinker and raise prices, manufacturers are saying. I didn't hear about this until just now, but apparently last month, the Department of Energy, President Biden Department of Energy, mind you, proposed a new effective standards for washing machine that require new applications to use considerably less water, all in the effort to combat the climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, they want to take away your gas stove so you can't cook. Now they want you to stink while you cook on your electric stove. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to this. Okay, look, I'm sorry if you believe in climate change. I think it's a hoax. But ladies and gentlemen, listen to this. Everything to do with the climate change is to make Americans worse. Everything with climate change makes Americans worse. Well, what you mean, Isaac? Well, you can't put gas in your vehicle. You got to go to EVs, which makes you pay a higher electric bill and put strain on the grid. You can't cook on the stove you want no more. You got to buy electric. And a lot of people that I'm hearing from says, well, we don't like electric. We like gas. And if the electricity goes out, we can still cook. Now they want to take away your washing machine to where the clothes you wear stink. And what are they going to do now? They're going to make the shower heads that have a sensor on it that, oh, he has used 5 gallons of water and stop you mid-shower? Ladies and gentlemen, I know what it is. Don't get me, I know what it is. It's not about renewable energy. It's not about protecting the environment. It's about controlling you. Because with electric vehicles, electric stoves, with these new fangled washer and dryers, they can go ahead and turn off the grid, and you won't be able to cook, you won't be able to drive, and you won't be able to wash your clothes. We're gonna have to go back to the Stone Ages where they're beating the clothes on the rocks. Ladies and gentlemen, the president is worried about the water you use in your washing machine. Ladies and gentlemen, don't you miss Trump yet? I'm asking, don't you miss Trump? Come on, man. I'm quoting Biden. Come on, man. You have a president that's banning resources in the United States. He's trying to take away your guns, trying to go around the Constitution, because when he says, hey, this executive order goes close to not passing legislation, meaning he's trying to loophole around the Constitution, and he wants you to change your washer and dryer for a washer and dryer that doesn't give you much water, so your clothes can stink and you look like you're in a third world nation. Think about it. Look, I'm sorry. This is Angry Isaac. I'm trying to calm down. But ladies and gentlemen, does this sound like a president that cares for his country? No. That's why when he travels all over the world and people are, Mr. Biden, yay! They're not happy because he's there. They're happy because he's ruining America. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm getting tired of this. A president that is focused more on climate change and taking away your rights instead of fixing the problems, and then messing up this country and will not take questions from the media. But they're mad because Tucker Carlson ran footage. backwards, backwards, backwards. With that being said, I'll be right back after this short break.
Cheers and good on you, boys and girls. My name is Scott Ford, and I have a show on Rumble. It's the Scott Ford Show, all one word. The Scott Ford Show, all one word, and it's on Rumble. I'd be very happy if you went ahead and subscribed, like Isaac. I'm a true American-loving patriot. Thank you, Isaac. God bless. Enjoy your life.
You're my peace of mind. When this old world seems to get me down.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the third and final segment. Unfortunately, Angry Isaac is coming out. And I'm going to tell you this. My last commercial was done by Scott Ford, and he nicknamed me that. So all credit to Scott Ford. He says he likes when Angry Isaac comes out. And look, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry that it seems like I'm angry. I don't say I'm angry. I'm passionate. I'm passionate. I'm not angry. I'm passionate. If you're watching, if you're watching a video podcast on YouTube, Rumble, or Spotify, you're probably Isaac. You're shaking your head. You look like you're not. You look like you're about to blow up. No, but ladies and gentlemen, I'm not. You know what? You know why I get so angry and upset at when I talk about stuff like this? Because I love America. A couple of weeks, maybe a couple of weeks ago now, I had a TikTok comment about my flags that I hang in the studio. And if you're listening on the audio side, you can't see, but I have about 3 flags. And they're not real flags. One's a carving, one's a poster, and one's a little tin flag with a Constitution on it. And it's over my Constitution replica. And people are like, see, he's a Trump supporter. He got all the flags. You know why I got these flags in this studio? Because I love America. I love it with all my heart. And ladies and gentlemen, it upsets me when I see the left and this president do what they're doing to take away our rights and take away our freedoms. Oh, Isaac, how you can say that? They love America. They don't love it the right way then. You get what I'm saying? They not. I don't know what this is their love. I hate to see hate for this country. And this country is going to hell in a handbasket. Because the left wants to progress into socialism. And they're taking our rights away. And look, everybody's talking about the 2024. What about 2023? What about now? We need to stand up for our rights now. We should not. Well, he's the president until 2024. Yes, that is correct. But you can still say, look, I'm not giving up my country. But ladies and gentlemen, this is why I get angry. And look, if you are a patriot, you should be angry as well. Because our founding fathers, 200 and some odd years ago, did not dream of this country being this way. When they wrote, and you can tell that because the Constitution they wrote and the writings they wrote, they had a vision for this country. And unfortunately, our rights are slowly being taken away. Now, with that being said, I want to go into this, the concept of religion a little while. And I've been seeing this, and I got 2 stories I'm gonna talk about, and I have a piece on Ron DeSantis. And I got news stories. I got, some things I'm gonna bounce around with. Hopefully I have enough time. If not, I'm gonna try to hit these things on the next episode if something major does not happen. But so there's a new series out there, and it's from the video game. I'm not familiar with the video game. I'm familiar with it by name, but I never played it. But there's a movie out there called The Last of Us. It originated from, as I said, the video game The Last of Us. And to my knowledge, I heard it's a good game. I am not into zombie games. I'm sorry, but I'm not into zombie games. I'm more into if to get into Because yes, people, I do play video games every so often. I'm more into sports games, but I like treasure hunting games. The Uncharted games, I have played every single one of them, except the PSP version. I never played the PSP version, but I played all the Uncharted games. Indiana Jones, I've watched Indiana Jones. I've seen National Treasures from Disney. I'm big into treasure hunting. I like that type of stuff. That is my somewhat history, whatever. It's funny how they mixed in some history and come up with a concept for a show. But I just like treasure hunting stuff, and Uncharted games I will play that. That's hunting games, Cabela's, when they used to make the Dangerous Hunt games. I love them games. So, but I was never into zombies. I also like Call of Duty, the World War II. That was a pretty good one. But anyway, actor Ron Wilson criticized the anti-Christian bias in Hollywood on Saturday after the latest example from the HBO series, The Last of Us. Now, he could have called me. Rainn Wilson, you could have called me. You could have known this way before you came up with this thought, but he maybe did. I don't know. But he from his Twitter account, the former Office cast member called out a recent episode of the series for featuring a villainous character using Bible verses in what he suggests was a predictable formula. So in this episode, I think they were cannibals, according to the article. The bad guys were featuring a group of cannibals led by what appeared to be a Christian preacher. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, us Christians are cannibals. And they quoted Bible verses, and they went ahead and even unfortunately did some inappropriate acts with a female character in the show, and Wilson is criticizing it and pointing out that the Hollywood has an anti-Christian bias. Like I said, he should have listened to this show and a lot of other shows that came out with this, because I could have told him this from a long time ago. Hollywood is anti-Christian, ladies and gentlemen, and it isn't from the beginning as well. And look, I love these shows. I love Gunsmoke. I love Andy. I don't know. I don't think Andy Griffith did anything with that, but Little House on the Prairie, they did it, where you had a fanatic on the show that was a Christian. One comes to mind is Little House on the Prairie. They had a dad that shunned in his daughter, and she did some things with a boy and had a baby, and I forgot the episode's name, but the dad was extreme religious, and he burned down the house, and he was trying to burn down the house with her inside because his religious views, and this is to the name of the Lord. Now, that was in the 60s. Now, I don't know. I'd say 60s to 70s. Lawson Prairie. Multiple Gunsmoke episodes where you had a preacher, extreme religious person, and he was the bad guy in the show. This happened on Gunsmoke. And thinking back at it now, a few shows. But Hollywood has always been leftist leaning and anti-Christian. And the reason for this, and this is why I say there's a war on Christianity in this world, especially left-driven countries or left-driven states like California, this is anti-Christian. They don't like Christianity. They will go ahead and try to take away the values. Now, let me say it like this. They might agree with the values. Hey, you shouldn't steal. You shouldn't do things wrong and everything. But for some reason, they just don't like Christianity, and we're living in an anti-Christian state now. This is one question I did ask too: why didn't they have another religion leader doing this? Okay, think about this. All right, they always use Christianity. They always use a preacher. They always use an evangelist. They use somebody that's a man of the cloth or something of that nature. But they never, ever use a leader or a position of Hinduism. They never use Buddhism. They never use another cult or religion figure leader. And ladies and gentlemen, that, like I said, if they're attacking Christianity and they're not attacking these other ones, hey, the devil don't attack his own, in my humble opinion. Now, you know my faith. I'm a Bible-believing, Holy Ghost-filled Christian. If someone had to say, I'm Pentecostal. I'm not extreme, like with the shirts and everything, but I'm considered a Pentecostal minister. And every time I see something like this, now you have some people coming out and saying, well, this is Hollywood's anti-Christian bias. Well, it's been happening for years. But it's kind of funny this is coming up. Now, going to my next point, I just made a statement how left-leaning countries don't like Christianity either. And this is going to Canada. Oh, Canada. Where a Catholic, a Canadian Catholic student was arrested and charged after saying men and women are different. This is embarrassing. Arrested for holding Christian beliefs at a Christian school, Canada Catholic high school student Josh Alexander claimed that the story behind authorities arresting him and charging him for trying to attend class last month. Alexander was a student at a Canadian Catholic high school until he spoke his mind over concerns of men and women restrooms at institution. Let me go ahead. He made a statement on men and women and said, believing God created only two genders, he suggested evidently led authorities to arrest and charge him for the offense. Must have charged him for hate speech. Now, ladies and gentlemen, have you ever thought a man would be arrested, or a woman or a person would be arrested for saying that, hey, God made male and female? And this raised, ladies and gentlemen, and look, this is a Christian. Now, look. This is why I bring this up, because when I seen this article, this isn't the only example. We had a man go into a library in Canada and protest a drag queen show, was brought outside and assaulted by the drag queens in Canada. He was a preacher, went home. The day later, cops showed up and arrested him for hate speech. And ladies and gentlemen, why are you concerned about Canada? Because, ladies and gentlemen, the nut that's running our country right now loves Justin Trudeau, because they're both of the same cloth. They're both left-leaning, socialistic idiots. Because look, Isaac, you can't prove that. Really? Biden just signs an executive order to go ahead and extend background checks. And Canada, a couple of months ago, said you can't hold a firearm. You can't go. The only reason you can have a firearm is to go hunting, and you can't own a handgun. Doesn't that sound familiar to what our president is trying to do? And ladies and gentlemen, this raises another question too for my brothers and sisters in Canada in the Lord. You better be ready, because there's Christian persecution coming. If a boy can't say, look, God made two genders, a male and a female, and a man can't go protest in a supposedly democratic country, well, a democracy, that's because Canada's supposed to be a democracy. And you have other stories of pastors getting thrown in jail. I think there was one, and I can't remember. I'm going to have to look at my sources and see, but I think there was one that was praying outside I don't know if it was in Canada, but I want to say 90% sure there was one praying in front of an abortion clinic in Canada, and they arrested him. Her as a person. And I like I said, don't quote me on the story. I know there was one in England as well. But ladies and gentlemen, these are countries that are left-leaning, and they're trying to shut up Christianity. Now, let's look at this point too right here. Look at this. Every country that went communist, or every country that went socialistic, what was a couple of things? What was a few things they took away? I'm going to mention three. They took a lot more, but these are my three main points. They took away freedom of religion. Freedom of speech. We talked about that last week. Oh my goodness! They crucified Tucker Carlson for releasing footage, and he shouldn't have done it. So he should be censored and fired. They took away the firearms. Oh, don't worry about the government's going to protect you, and you don't have to worry about you don't have to protect yourself. And then three, they took out Christianity. Look, I'm gonna point it to the camera. You people that are watching on the video feed, I'm raising three cameras on the audio. Three cameras, three fingers on the audio side. Three things every socialistic country and every communistic country has done. And you're telling me that America is not in trouble? A thought that's just a clear thought right there. All right, I want to go ahead and talk about one more thing. I'm going to talk about Donald Trump. Look, and I said in the last week, do you miss Donald Trump? I miss his policies. His attitude, I think he could do something else with. Because the reason I'm saying this is because I saw a news article story, and this is from the Daily Wire, and I'm upset. One reason I'm very upset, I hate seeing Republicans trash other Republicans. And I've been saying this, ladies and gentlemen, the media is scared of Ron DeSantis. They are. And I'm going to bring an example of that again later on. What's upsetting, and look, I know the media they're gonna go ahead and trash the Republican primary. Like I said in the last episode, the Pope could go ahead and run for president, but he'll be running as a Republican. They're gonna find dirt on him. But former President Donald Trump faces backlash online Monday for praising failed Democrat global national candidate Charlie Crist in a video attacking Florida Ron DeSantis. Former Governor Crist he was the governor of Florida, went ahead and made some comments about Ron DeSantis, and President Biden praised him for an ad like this. President Trump told a group of reporters on his plane that DeSantis was dead as a dog when he got the presidential endorsement in 2018, which was not true. President Ron DeSantis was soaring. And I'd say that, okay, he ran last year. That was maybe the first time. He said he was and when asked if he regretted endorsing DeSantis, Trump said he did. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Trump took pictures with Ron DeSantis. He endorsed Ron DeSantis. This is all because he thinks Ron DeSantis is going to run for president. Now, this is what Trump isn't thinking. That is a future player in the Republican Party. Ron DeSantis if he don't run this time, he will run for president and probably win. Now, Donald Trump knows he's beating Nikki Haley in a long stretch in the polls. People like Nikki Haley, but they're not going to vote for her over her former boss. But Ron DeSantis, however, and you have all these polls, Trump has 60%, Ron DeSantis has 20%, and I don't believe it because those are all biased polls. Well, that came from CPAC. It's a biased poll. Because you have more conservatives there and you have more people that like Trump and they're going to vote for Trump. That is a biased poll. They didn't poll me. I'm a Ron DeSantis guy. Is that fair? No, it's not fair because it's biased poll. But he goes, yeah, maybe, probably, yeah. Trump said, I like people that are loyal. This guy was dead. Trump faces widespread backlash across the political right over his latest attack on DeSantis, and he has been doing this. And ladies and gentlemen, this is why I think Ron DeSantis is a lot closer to Trump in the polls than the polls are saying. Because, ladies and gentlemen, for Donald Trump to attack him, he did this with Ted Cruz, which I disagreed with. He did this with Jeb Bush, which he exposed Jeb Bush for what he was a rhino. But when he attacked Ted Cruz and he attacked other candidates, it showed that they were getting close to beating him. And, ladies and gentlemen, this is wrong. I've said this before over this microphone. Trump is wrong for attacking Ron DeSantis. Because, like I said, this is a future player in the Republican Party. And this is going to hurt Ron DeSantis down the road. I don't think it's going to hurt Ron DeSantis that much. His policy speaks for himself. Now, Donald Trump can go ahead and say, well, in 2018, he didn't have a chance to win. But he won. He didn't need Trump's endorsement in 2022. Think about that. And that's why I was thinking, I was mixed up with 2018, 2022. Ron DeSantis didn't need Donald Trump's endorsement. He won with over 60% of the vote, if I'm not mistaken. First time in a long while that a Republican governor has done that. He was the incumbent, Isaac. That still don't matter. That's an impressive win. People in Florida say they like what he's doing. And people in America like what they're doing. Like what he's doing. And that's why people like me think he should run for president. Now, on another note, people are upset. I'm going to give you two examples of the left, and we're going to have to wrap this up and go home. ABC General Hospital star Nancy Lee Graham compares Ron DeSantis to Hitler for removing propaganda books. Propaganda books from school. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Actress Nancy Lee Graham was reportedly used her large social media following to smear conservatives. Twitter tweeted Monday that DeSantis will end up making Hitler seem nice. Her tweet was in response to a video showing examples of the sexual exploited books found in Florida's public school libraries. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Ron DeSantis is trying to protect your kids from improper books, and he's compared to Hitler. Now, Hitler went burn books, and he burned books that did not fit his ideology. DeSantis is removing this from a library or asking it to be put in a adult exclusive section because it is improper for kids to see, but he is compared to Hitler. They call him fascist. They call him racist. They call him everything under the sun. And ladies and gentlemen, this is why I say look, Ron DeSantis is being smart too. He ain't saying nothing. He's keeping quiet. He's doing his job in Florida. He hasn't even announced he's running for president. He just wrote a new book. I want to get the book. I like to read it. But ladies and gentlemen, Ron DeSantis is not saying nothing. He's not even gracing his presence with these comments. But ladies and gentlemen, for the left to attack him, and look, I'm going to be honest with you. And I've said this already. They hate Trump. I honestly think they're attacking more DeSantis than Trump right now. That says something. Also, MSNBC, big time media, DeSantis politicizing education by teaching kids the evils of communists. NBC anchor Chuck Todd claimed. So what Ron DeSantis wants to do in Florida, he wants to go ahead and teach the kids about, communism, the evils of communism, really. But Chuck Todd, Ron DeSantis is a communist because he wants kids to learn about communists in school. If you fail to learn your history, you're doomed to repeat it. One scholar or one famous person said one time. So now, why not show the kids, hey, the dangers of communists? But Chuck Todd, which I said is Chuck Todd, Joy Reid, Whoopi, and all these people that go ahead and have TV shows, I can make it in media. Of course, I'm a conservative and not a left-leaning nut. But anyway, Chuck Todd, host of NBC Meet the Press, accused Governor Ron DeSantis of politicizing Florida schools after promoting plans for an annual lesson on the impacts of the communist regime. Todd spoke with a panel on the possibility of DeSantis becoming the Republican nominee for president in 2024, while they speculate that DeSantis is being positioned as an alternate to former President Trump. Todd questioned whether DeSantis is planning on taking on swing voters after what he said while appearing in Las Vegas on Saturday. We're also the first state in the country to establish every November 10th, the day in our school to embark on and teach our students at all grade levels about the evils of communist regime throughout history. We're going to tell the truth about Marxism, DeSantis said. Todd suggested that this is the invalid practical appears that to be DeSantis going his own way to politicize teaching. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Chuck Todd is mad because Ron DeSantis wants your kids to know about the evilness of communist and socialistic regimes. That's the left for you, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, they're evil, but let's not teach your kids about it because we're going that way. That's my opinion. And ladies and gentlemen, I can't say more. I think, look, these reports, you notice I've been talking about this a lot lately because I think this is like the third episode where I bring something that they're attacking Ron DeSantis. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you. And look, I'm going to repeat my statement. If Donald Trump's the nominee, I will vote for Donald Trump over Joe Biden. And I have my issues with Trump. But ladies and gentlemen, when the media starts attacking a person like this, we've seen this. The last time we seen this was in 2016 when the media went full blast against Donald Trump. And they've been on his tail ever since. Now they're transitioning to Ron DeSantis. I just think it's funny. Chuck Todd saying it's wrong for us to pick a date to tell kids in Florida that you shouldn't you shouldn't trust communist people or the communist regimes because it's evil and it's gonna ruin your life. I think we should do that in all of the nation. Nah, that's my call. So, all right. So with that being said, I want to thank you for listening to the Cajun Conservative. Please remember to hit the subscribe button or follow button on the platform you're listening on. Depending on the platform, they change. If you can, go ahead and share on your social media account and tell friends about the Cajun Conservative Show. I love doing this. I love hanging out with you guys. And look, I want to make out a point. I don't think I ever made this point out on the show. I heard someone say this and I was like, wow, the Cajun Conservative is absolutely free. It's free. So if you hit the subscribe button, I will not ask you for a penny. I will not ask you for a dime or whatever you want to say. If you hit that subscribe button or follow button, you're going to get this show absolutely free. I had an opportunity a while back to go ahead and do some subscriber stuff. And I was like, no, I'm an American and I should give this information out for free or my thoughts for free. Not saying if somebody would sign me on, but it'd still be free. I'm just saying it. You have sponsors or whatever, but just remember, it's absolutely free. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and you get all the information of the shows that are coming up and what happened in the past week and all that good stuff. So, all right. So with that being said, I want to thank you again for listening. Please remember that Jesus Christ is King, and he's coming back, and he's coming back soon. So don't be faint of heart, because Jesus has overcome the world. If you want to know Jesus, your Lord and Savior, email me. I'll get in contact with you. I'll tell you how to make Jesus your Savior and heaven your home. So until next time, be blessed, be encouraged. You have a good one.